there. Video's live.
Good afternoon and welcome to March 9th, 22. Sierra, your microphone is on. Sorry, you've got that? I just wanted to first of all acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people. And also that yesterday was the International Women's Day. I just wanted to acknowledge all of my fellow directors and staff for that day yesterday that we weren't in attendance, but I just want to acknowledge everyone for that. Thank you so much for all of you. And also I had a request for, as the war is still going on in Ukraine, I've had a request for a moment of silence before we start our meeting, and that will begin now. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's to acknowledge all the people in Europe and all the people suffering in Ukraine. And with that, we will move on now to our regular business of the day, and that is an approval of the agenda. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Turning now to Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first item is adoption of the regular board meeting minutes of February 23rd, 2022.
Is there a mover? Moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item M2 is adoption of the special board meeting minutes of February 24th.
Moved and second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Legault.
There's no business arising from the minutes, and we have 2 participants for public input period.
Okay. Are they going to be?
I'm just bringing our participants for public input period in from the lobby, and the first speaker is Cliff Evans.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair and directors. This afternoon on delegation number 1, we will have Ken Gray, Secretary and Director of the Mill Bay and District Conservation Society, present us with an overview of the annual migration of spawning coho salmon into the Shawnigan Water Basin. Ken and all his teams really work hard and long catching and transporting salmon to the Shawnigan Creek and lake, plus some of its tributaries. Shawnigan Basin Society tries to help Ken's teams in any way they can. Even Dr. Bernard Yearling quite often volunteers netting salmon for many hours a day, along with members of the team. This is really tough, wet, cold, and Ken would be happy to have you. Give you a real hands-on experience and an appreciation for the environment. Please help Ken and his team any way you can. Other members scout the creeks for trash blockages where the spawning salmons can't get through. The water temperature is very critical. In the hot summer, if the water gets too warm, it's lethal for the coho fingerlings. We need to keep every tree and all the vegetation we can in the riparian zones that drop into it. Riparian flora is very important too. It is very porous, acts as a heat sink, and retains moisture. When the riparian area is destroyed by development, it upsets fish. Think like a fish, you have to make a planning decision where there is a riparian area involved. Think, could a fingerling survive? There are 2 developments in Shawnigan that are on the table right now that will be detrimental to the riparian areas as they are now planned. Number 1 is the Taylor Park project, and number 2 is the Rails with Trails project, phase 3. In both cases, alternatives need to be explored that wouldn't damage the riparian areas. We need to work together to solve these problems, and this should be done to the satisfaction of everyone. The directors here today with you are the ones that will make these decisions. Please vote wisely.
For public input, go ahead, please. Welcome.
Mr. McPherson, you're up.
Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if that was me.
Oh, sorry, I just see your name now. Welcome, Mr. McPherson.
Not at all. Thank you very much for having me, and good afternoon, everybody. I'll be really brief. I'm just following up on our application for a permit to host some fireworks to celebrate the 50th International Regatta here at the school. I know that last week at the SC meeting, that motion was denied. So process-wise, I appreciate having the opportunity to say a few words. I know that this application was, in fact, recommended to be passed by the bylaw enforcement officer at the time the application was made. I just think for the board's reference, this would be the last time that we would be looking to do something like this, as it is a culmination of 50 years of regatta. And we are celebrating a couple of the founders who, unfortunately may not be with us much longer. For us, it's an important calendar item on the year. I know that for the community, it's something that everybody has looked forward to for the last 5 or 6 years that we've been doing it. We certainly have done the due diligence in terms of, as I said, the bylaw enforcement officer would agree that there is no livestock or anything within that 500-meter radius. We do have the ability off the dock and off the water in terms of permitting with our foreshore. I guess I don't even know what the vernacular would be, whether it's our permitting for that. So all those things are squared away. It really comes down to I have an understanding of, I know where these things are going, and Blaze and I have talked about this before. As I said, I don't imagine this being anything other than this last one to celebrate this year. But I would ask that the board consider it as a milestone for the community and for the school as well, and reconsider the vote that was made by the EASC last week. This is the first time I've done this, so I don't know if that's the way to end it.
That's it.
Feels
Thank
like
you
it's
so much.
appropriate. Thanks.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's your public input. I appreciate it, and thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Moving on, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On to delegations. Item D1 is Ken Gray, Secretary and Director of the Mill Bay and District Conservation Society, regarding the coho salmon project on Shawnigan Creek for information. And Mr. Gray is here in the boardroom with us and is just coming to the podium.
I'm not sure. Will we see him, Mr. Gray, on camera, or we'll just hear him for those of us that are virtual?
That's talking.
IT is just making some adjustments for him.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome, or thank you for having me here as a delegation to present some input on our organization, which is the Mill Bay District Conservation Society, and the coho salmon project that we have the last 43. It has turned from an experiment in the early days of the late 70s to the #1 coho enhancement project in BC and quite possibly North America. We have gone from a little backwoods salmon project to garnering now. The PowerPoint presentation itself, and we'll go through it, and you can read along as the slides go through. So that gave you a brief overview of what we do and where we do it. This was started, like I said, back in the 70s as an experiment to bolster the coho stocks in the Strait of Georgia. And as seen in the one slide, we have gone from a return back in the early days of a couple hundred fish to well over 7,000 now. We are the most important coho project on South Vancouver Island, as we do supply 13 other different projects and waterways with offspring from our salmon to bolster the stocks on South Vancouver Island. It is a very hands-on project, and it's very unique, as it is the only one of its kind that I know of in North America, and it's in our backyard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gray. I have been always aware of where that is and what was happening under the highway, but I didn't know to this extent of how much went into it. So it was quite surprising. And I have Director Salmon for questions. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ken. That was great to see. Should have worn my Mill Bay Salmon t-shirt today. It is one of the big unsung volunteer efforts we have here. And so I just think of the stories, not only around here and including on the far side of Shawnigan, swum through to Shawnigan Lake and then up the streams. So really appreciate it, and thanks for updating us.
Thank you.
I think that tours of this, when it goes on and what happens, it looks so involved. It'd be very interesting. I have Director Wilson, then Director Marsh, go ahead, and then Director Acton. Go ahead, Director Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, as far as tours are concerned, just turn up anytime. I always publicise when this is going to be happening on the local Facebook pages, and the number of children and their parents who turn up to watch and to see the looks of wonder on their faces as to what's going on there is quite amazing. And thanks to Ken, who's and all for all the hard work that he and his volunteers do. I can personally attest to the physical and muscular effect that the combination of very cold water and the strength that these fish have when you're just trying to lift them out of the collection tanks. And I mean, you come away with the clawed hand syndrome. It takes hours to get rid of that, especially on old mussels. Ken, so a question for you, please. Can you, with the map that you showed of the Shawnigan watershed there, can you tell me roughly what area surrounds the lake as to where the how far the salmon will migrate up the various streams and rivulets at exits? Is it a 1 kilometer or 2 or 3 kilometer area surrounding the lake, something like that?
As far as the salmon migration, it's all depending on water flow in the fall. With these seasonal creeks, when they begin to flow, the salmon will migrate as far as they can within any seasonal creek or any full-time creek. Saying that, they can go anywhere pretty well in the Shawnigan watershed. And
that's great.
And that could be anywhere from 500 meters to a couple meters or a couple kilometers.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Ken.
Director Marsh, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to Mr. Gray. I was really moved by that. I'm sorry about my dog. I was really moved by that PowerPoint. I think in some ways, by you not speaking, it left room for really getting in touch with the beauty of what your volunteer group is doing. Yeah. And the kind of bittersweetness of what past infrastructure decisions were made that has required you to do this. And it just really, really touched me. I wanted you to know that. And please thank all the volunteers. I've always known the Cowichan Valley was wonderful, but this was a new piece of volunteer activity to me. So thank you. I raise my hands to you in gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Oops.
Sorry, wrong microphone. Hi, Ken.
Hi.
Thanks for coming today. I guess my question is to have now what we're seeing from soil dumping on a large scale. And we have forestry practices that every 10 minutes coming out of north end. So wondering, well, like, how on the salmon right now with those two things happening?
Well, as far as the dumping aspect on the south end of the from these dump areas and the turbidity comes into the stream, it doesn't take much turbidity to clog the gills of the small fish, be it the coho salmon or if it be the cutthroat trout that are residing in there for their entire lives. So the Shawnigan and coho are a very unique species, I'm thinking, because of all of the trials and tribulations that they have to go through from the upper watershed of the dumping of the forestry practices, of going through the lake, and the potential of the environmental aspects of sewage runoffs, so on and so forth, the recreational aspects, and then you get into the lower watershed where they get into the agricultural aspect. So these fish run a gauntlet from the time that they're born for the first year, a year old. So to do as well as this run has done is something that's just beyond amazing. So like I said, if we can control any aspect that is detrimental to the health of the fish, I'm all for it, most definitely.
Follow up, Director Acton, go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I guess it would be great to get together with your group and maybe include some other groups on how we could maybe approach the province, you know, with some of these practices that are happening, and to have a good understanding. I suspect you have an understanding of what times of year the salmon are in certain places.
Yes, I do.
So then, you know, maybe we could ask for, you know, just have an understanding of when are they in Shawnigan Lake and when are they coming into the south end from the creek. So, because right now would probably not be a good time for them. But, okay, so maybe we can set that up
For sure.
this one day.
I look forward
Thanks.
to that.
Director Morrison, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and yeah, it's all about habitat, because habitat for coho is good habitat for the other species as well. But my question is, I'm looking at the slide where it says the few Chinook that come into the estuary are released from the coho transport system. So Chinook is a very important species. I'm just wondering, I guess it's kind of a bycatch. Do you track it? When you say release, do you actually let them hitch a ride with their coho brethren up into the upper reaches of the river and into other spawning areas?
As far as the Chinook, under DFO guidelines, we are only a coho project. So any swim-ins of Chinook are required to be put back into the ocean to continue their journey. We know that the Chinook that do show up at the trap are Cowichan Chinook that have just missed the corner and followed the school of cohos into our estuary, really looking to see where they're going and hopefully find find a spawning area with them. But no, we don't have any Chinook, native Chinook in as far as the Shawnigan system at all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gray. Thank you for all your hard work, and we appreciate it. And you get your virtual applause and some maybe not so virtual because you're right there. They've got to do all the work for us. Thank you so much. Thank you. And moving on now, we have 2 delegations today. And we now have Judy Stafford, and I just wanted to let the board know that there was a YouTube video that was attached to our agenda, which was very good, and I hope you all had a chance to see it. We will not be playing it here. Hi, Judy. And if there's any questions for Judy, I'll let Judy go ahead first and then see if there's any questions. I was just saying that we watched the video, and of course, super professional and so amazing. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. It's weird not being there and not showing you and making sure you're watching it. Because when I was there live, I could see if you were paying attention or whether you were on your phones. Now I can't. So anyway, thank you for, I won't say who used to watch their phones, but anyway, thank you for inviting me here. I'm happy to see you all on the screen. And I just want to say congratulations to Chair Yanni DiNardo. I haven't spoken to you since your appointment. And I also want to wish Mayor Sebring best of luck in your upcoming retirement. Wow, that was all over the news. I'm not sure who moves to a colder climate when they retire, but hey, you know. So as some of you probably watched the video, it was a crazy year last year. I can't believe how busy we were. It was probably our busiest year yet. And I just want to acknowledge everyone that works with us and how they really managed to pull out all the stops, especially during the pandemic. So just a few little highlights I just want to mention is that the Food Recovery Project, which of course the CVRD supported with the van's still going strong. We actually received some funding to get it retrofitted, so now it's a full refrigerated van, which is amazing. But we have collected and redistributed over 300,000 pounds of food since we started that project. Our little grocery store had a reno and is doing so well, and we are so grateful again to have supported over 120 low-income families and seniors with free groceries every week with donations. We had our fundraiser breakfast a few weeks ago, virtual again, and we raised over $86,000 for the coupon program at the donor breakfast. So we're really grateful to all our supporters. Our summer camp, wow, what a blast that was the last couple of summers. I think a lot of parents were just happy to send their kids somewhere. So we had our best year ever at camp at Kin Park. And another new initiative last year, which wasn't in the video, was the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction came up with a new plan, and they offered organizations a stipend to hire people who are on disability to do a work program. So we were successful in that grant, and we hired 10 people who had 12-week work placements. Most of them were at the farms, but some were in the kitchen and the store. It was so successful. The 10 participants that joined that project are amazing. We have some of them that have stayed on with us. And, I wrote the ministry and said how grateful we were for that opportunity for them as well as us. And I'm not saying that they listened to my feedback, but they just announced a second year of that pilot. So we've applied again, and I hope we are successful. The Garden Education Center, now called the Farm and Food Hub on Beverly Street. Oh, so busy. Super happy to see all the new initiatives that are going on there. We're obviously keeping up with all the seed stuff, but the market garden, the inclusion garden, doing a lot of work with the schools next door. They come over and teams of Quam kids show up and haul mulch around, and it's really been a really amazing partnership with the schools and VIU also. And this Saturday is CD Saturday. We had a sort of a virtual kind of thing last year, canceled the year before. So this year, with support from the city, we're able to rent or utilize the park, Charles Way Park, and it'll be an actual real CD Seedy Saturday event outside. So I think we have about 24 seed sellers and vendors that will be there on Saturday. So hope to see some of you there. So we're still working back to sort of like the garden education / farm hub. We're still working through some issues with getting our new kitchen built there. With the engineering reports, and then of course we got flooded, and then our lead contractor just resigned. So we've had some glitches, but we're hopefully this close to getting our building permit requirements, and hopefully we'll start in the summer. Our kitchen has been unbelievably busy. We continued with the Meals on Wheels, of course, which really has taken an increase with many people, you know, stuck at home or recuperating. The homeless shelter meals, we've carried on with those at the Ramada and the 2 pod sites. And then now Monday is the Trunk Road site opening, which is very exciting. Again, thanks to the city for making that possible. So 34 people will be moving there, and we're shifting some of the meals that we're doing now to the tent sites or the pod sites to the new site on Trunk Road, and we're going to be serving those meals 7 days a week. And then we also, with our Cowichan and some other youth services, we started a homeless youth meal program. So some of the outreach workers come to CGC and pick up meals at the end of the day and then hand them out on the street in the evening. So that's been really great. And then the White Road we're waiting for. I think it's been delayed till January, but we're going to be hopefully helping those residents as well. And then weirdly enough, the new hospital, a contractor contacted us last week and asked if we would be interested in doing meals for the contractors. I didn't tell the kitchen at all about this. And I know this is recorded, but I don't think the manager is going to listen to this, because at the height of the construction of the hospital would be 737 employees, and could we deliver lunch? So I don't even know how anyone can make 737 sandwiches, but anyway, we'll see what happens. I don't know, it's one of those things where if we get it, great. If we don't, great, because I think that will kill everybody. But we also just wrapped up a 2-day food security conference. It was all virtual, which was weird, but we had participants from Scotland, New York, North Dakota, all across Canada. So Little Cowichan got on the map for a couple of days, really successful. There was over 350 attendees. So that was pretty exciting and really, really great workshops. And then the Emergency Food Task Force carries on. As some of you may or may not know, Mayor Staples, March of 2020, seems like so long ago, asked us if we could just pull together people to make sure that all the food programs would still run. We were meeting like twice a week in the beginning. We still meet every month. There's a core team that talk about, the changes in the shelters and the food banks, and they've had, new staff at the food bank. And so we all still continue to meet, continue to write grants together, and we've raised money for, meals and hampers and PPE. And when the flood hit, we all talked about that, and we were really supported by United Way. Great relationship that we built with United Way, where they contact us and said, okay, we've got some funding. How can we help you guys? They gave us $25,000 to support flood victims. I just talked to Joe Thorne, and we're just going to support another 5 families that are still adversely affected by the flooding, and getting them some more food. And that task force won Vancouver Island EcoStar COVID-19 Leadership Award. So that was kind of a proud moment for that team.
That's great.
And so that's kind of all my updates. I'm probably out of time. I didn't time myself.
Yeah, that is out of time, but we do have questions from directors, and I know you could go on.
I know, sorry.
A little bit longer as well, but I saw Director McGonigal. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Madam. Around to the West End. It's been well received. and a stopgap for some of the families struggling in the West End as well. So kudos to you and your team and community services for the collaborative approach in getting that program to the West End.
Thank you. Happy to help.
Director Staples and then Director Toporowski.
Thanks. About the emergency meals. Did you mention that?
Oh, that we stockpiled. I did forget to do that. It was in there, but I missed it. So with the United Way flood money, we also received funding to, and we filled freezers. We have 500 frozen meals ready to go in case of a community emergency. And those meals will be available immediately if something else happens in our community. And we'll rotate those out every 3 months until they are needed.
Wow.
That was also Mayor Staples' idea.
That's cool.
That's not why I brought it up. I just wanted it to, because at the board it is a part of the emergency operations. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
And I've told
thanks.
I've told the emergency team that we have those meals ready for them.
Great. Go ahead, Director Toporowski.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Judy, and thank you so much for sending the video ahead of time. It was really great because viewing it live, you can't hit 92,957 pounds. But Googled, and I Googled this. How many truckloads was Phil? 6 to 7 flatbed trucks of food. Wow.
Wow.
That's just amazing. So, and then the food distribution was 219,420 pounds. So just amazing work that you're doing. And it sounds like you're adding more and more to what you're doing. And I just wanted to throw in a joke here, but please bear with me. I think Al should be volunteered as a volunteer to help make those sandwiches, and this would train him for his retirement.
Oh, we'll put anybody to work. Finding kitchen staff right now is really tricky.
Yes.
I'm off to see grandkids, but there's not that many of them, so. But I may call you, Judy.
Director Marsh. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I had one question. Seriously. How does this work for the in-store voucher program for the viewers that are logging in and for people that may want to donate to that program?
Sure. So the people on the wait list, or the people on the list, we also have a wait list, receive $25 a week. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, the food that we do sell is inexpensive. So you can get a couple bags of groceries. So they just go in and shop. We don't do any, you know, distinguishation, not a word. So people come in and they just go through the store and shop, and they bring their groceries to the till, and everything's rung in. And then at the end, it's voided out. Everyone that works in the store pretty much knows everyone. There's a list. And yeah, so there is an application process for that. We don't ask a lot of information. And like I said, there are 120 on there right now. We started it in March 2020 for COVID, and it was only a short-term thing. But unfortunately, these folks are still very much in need of support. So we've continued to raise money to keep that program running. So if you want to make a donation, just go to our website. Thank you.
Good plug, Director. Good one. I turn to Director Marsh to close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Judy. I keep thinking one year you're just going to come with one new program, but I suspect that's never going to happen. And it's quite exciting to know that you and the Mayor of Duncan and the city are collaborating on things, because you're both movers and shakers. And I'm just thinking back to when you came to us for that van and you had a couple of options, and I was trying to be really careful with the grant money, and then Mayor Stone swayed me. And look what you've done now. You've refrigerated the thing. You were right, Aaron. I knew it before now, but I just feel so, today I'm feeling really moved by a lot of things, our previous presenter, but you as well. And as we look towards what are going to be food shortages, at least for the next 2 years, in the Ukraine, I just commend all of your grantors, including local governments, for recognizing that supporting local people to do what they know their local community needs just mushrooms the investment. And I just end by saying thank you. Please give my thank you to all of your staff, and just acknowledge that you hired them, and you've, with some grant money, trained some people to have jobs that may not otherwise have had. So, I mean, I just could go on, but you know, I'm your #1 fan.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay, that is all. I'd like to give you the virtual applause. So thank you so much for all you do. And I think your logo should be dream big, but you dream even bigger. You're just amazing.
Thank you, everyone. It was
Thank you so much.
Okay, enjoy the rest of your meeting. See you all
Thank
soon.
you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.
Ms. Legault, I see that we are going straight to committee and commission reports, I believe.
Thank you, Madam
Madam
Chair.
Chair,
Yes,
before we go there, can I make a suggestion?
yes.
Maybe whoever goes to the seed exchange could do that shimmy dance that the coho do.
Wigwag, wigwag.
I thought he called it a shimmy wag or something.
Oh, I thought it was a wigwag. Anyway, we do have,
Yeah.
the Watershed Board has a fish that can do that for, so I'll mention that.
Okay.
Turning now, Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item CR1 is the report and recommendations of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of March 2nd.
Speaking of fish, Director Salmon.
What? Okay, thank you. So this is the report and recommendations of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of March the 2nd, 2022. There are 4 items there. Going to have some pulled.
Okay, Director Sebring.
Just out of respect to the delegation that spoke, I'd like to pull number 4.
Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. Director Morrison.
Pull number 3, please.
So 1 and 2, Director Salmon.
I'd like to move numbers 1 and 2, please.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Director Salmon.
Okay, number 3 then, that would be Director Morrison.
Just want to vote against that separately.
Okay, so it's been moved by Director Salmon, seconded by Director Marsh. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Director Morrison's opposed. Number 4, Director Salmon.
Okay, number 4. This one is the fireworks one. Maybe I'll just speak to that before I do support the recommendation, which is to deny, but I'll just say a word about why. And I thank Mr. McPherson from Brentwood, who just spoke to us earlier. And as he mentioned, I have spoken with him a few times about this over the years, just with some, indicator where society's moving on this. But I would like to say that overall, we always have to balance these things. And what I hear, particularly locally, is a lot of increasing concerns about fireworks, particularly from pet owners, especially dogs, from livestock owners, especially horses, and not to mention, of course, the birds and other wildlife that are affected. So balancing all that, and not to mention the environmental costs of fireworks, I really think now is the time to move forward and on to alternatives.
Thank you. Director Sebring, do you have any comment?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I generally will support the recommendations of an EA director on an activity that happens in his EA. So I'll be supporting the motion. I just wanted to hear that because, you know, what we heard in the public input had to do with the fact that staff had recommended this go ahead. The inference I heard is this was going to be the last time, and that it was to particularly honor a couple of individuals who may not be with us much longer. And I looked at that context and went, maybe we can do it one more time. I'm hearing what you're saying, Director Salmon. I just needed that background. Thank you.
And we did have a speaker earlier on talking about the environment. Go ahead, Director Stone. No. Okay, so it's been moved by Director Salmon, seconded by Director Nicholson. And you'd like to speak?
Thank you. So can I have some clarification? Did I understand from Mr. McPherson that this is a 50th year celebration?
Yes.
So I guess I am swayed, and that I think, you know, in general, I think it's time to get rid of fireworks for all the reasons that have been mentioned. I think that a softer, more community sensitive approach might be in keeping with this as we do this. And I think from the perspective of the issues that we have about fireworks, I think the actual timing of this one is fairly low risk for wildlife, for and that location for livestock. So I think I will be voting against this.
I just want to, it has been a few years. I just wanted to make a comment that Director Salmon has warned Brentwood College that this was going to come to an end. And also this is in the springtime when the birds are nesting. So it may not be around animals or farm animals. It's just something that has been on its way anyway, but I turn to Director Marsh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really understand the tug that, I believe I understand the tug that Director Nicholson is feeling. However, when Director Sebring reminded us about the earlier presentation about honoring some people that might not be with that community much longer. I guess I've noticed in my years and the two sets of families I've had how we've kind of changed in our way of honoring. And it's kind of rah, rah, let's make a big splash. But what's most meaningful to people to be honored is to have a few people say what they appreciated about their service. And so I think by sticking to what we've decided previously, we are allowing for a new way of honoring people. So I support the motion as it's worded.
Thank you. I turn to Director Acton. Go ahead, please. Director Acton, and then Director.
I was gonna, oops. Sorry, old habits die hard. I was gonna pass on this, but I am gonna support the director of the area. I know it's a tough one when it comes to tradition, and this school is actually, you know, they could have just gone ahead without even asking for a permit, really. But I'm gonna stick with supporting the director of the area. Thanks.
Thank you. I turn to Director Martman.
And I guess I just wanted to bring the voice of the farmer into this because it is a critical period of the year for farming, because this is when we typically have yearlings, or when we typically raise the calves or the infant animals that are coming out. I don't know if you saw the Times columnist with I think it's 6 tuplets of lambs that were born to this one guy. And it is harder for farmers when it's not a known event, like typically like July 1st or Halloween. And though it's not a 500-meter radius, that there's farms within it, but we're talking about noise across water. And that carries a lot further than the 500 meters. And so I guess I just wanted to raise that. I will be following Director Salmon's lead on this. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other hands up, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Director Kuhn, McGonigal, and Nicholson opposed. Thank you. That's carried. And go ahead, Director Salmon.
Thank you. So these are electoral area directors only. These are items 5 and 6. I'd like to move those, please.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On to Director's Reports. Item DR1 is a report from Director Smith regarding Area G Community Works Funds. And the proposed recommendation is 1, that $25,000 from Area G Community Works Funds 3.0 be allocated to the Thetis Island Community Association towards an emergency generator for the Thetis Island Community Center, Forbes Hall. And 2, that the 2022 budget for Function 250 Electoral Area Services be amended by increasing transfer from gas tax reserve by $25,000 and increasing grants to organizations by $25,000.
Go ahead, Director Smith. Are you moving that? Didn't want to speak to it. It's been moved and seconded. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Ms. Legault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On to bylaws for electoral areas. Item BEA1, CVRD Bylaw 4331, Electoral Areas Works and Servicing Bylaw 2022 for adoption.
I don't see a mover. It's been moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item BEA2, CVRD Bylaw 4348, Shawnigan Lake Flood Management Bylaw 2022 for adoption.
Moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried.
Item BEA3, CVRD Bylaw 4358, Cowichan River River Bottom Road Area Flood Management Bylaw 2022 for adoption.
Moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you.
BEA4, CVRD Bylaw 4381, Cowichan Coxsila Rivers Flood Management Bylaw 2022 for adoption.
Moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried.
BEA5, that second reading of CVRD Bylaw 4330, Zoning Bylaw Harmonization Bylaw 2020 be rescinded.
Moved. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried.
And finally, that CVRD Bylaw 4330, Zoning Bylaw Harmonization Bylaw 2020 be given second reading as amended.
Moved. Seconder. Second. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you, Ms. Legault. Next.
There's no further business and no participants for question period, so it would be a motion to close the meeting to the public in accordance with Community Charter Section 91C, I, and K.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Now, Ms. Legault, there's a new, we have to go,